Hello everybody, this is Budrich again with a new episode of Let's Linux. I call this one lolban i3fyra, the name of the game. Yeah, and in this video I will show you how to set up the layout that I had that I showed in my previous video, Extreme i3. Here I will show you how to use it and how to set it up. It's actually very easy. And first off, as you can see, the windows and my desktop doesn't look like it used to. I have these window decorations here are a bit different, and this bar here. This is actually the default looks of i3 when you first install it. And it's I have this now because I have I'm using the default i3 settings. I haven't done any configurations at all to the settings. I open it up in Sublime here now. Here, this is the i3 config file in Sublime, and it's there's no this is the bare defaults. This is what you also get the first time you install it. And I thought I start from this from these settings and build I will show you how to use the i3fyra layout by just adding and changing some of the settings in your config file. Of course, you also need to, I change now to Workspace 2, where I have my web browser. Right now it's Vivaldi, the web browser, and this is the GitHub page for i3as, which is i3 assistance scripts that I have made. And here you can find the scripts that you need to achieve this. You'll need this one, i3fyra, you will need i3list, and you will need i3gw. Right now the page looks like this, and you find the scripts in its folder. I think I will make at least some kind of release with the scripts in a more convenient way to install. But it's just one single shell script for each of these functions, and it shouldn't be a problem for you to download the scripts and make them executable and put them in your path for now. But maybe when you watch this video it might be a more convenient way. I might have even made some packages for like Debian and or Deb packages and for Arc and whatever. But right now it's bare bones like this. But since it's just shell and bash scripts, it shouldn't be a problem for you to install them. Okay. You can also, when you think you have installed them, you can try it like one of the scripts and then just run it with the V flag, and then it should display the version information like this. If this doesn't show up, then it's not installed correctly. You can do it, I think I moved this window to Workspace 2 as well. Okay. And let's open a new terminal. And now I'm just using here this binds you mod return to open a terminal, and it splits. This is just normal default behavior of i3 now. None of my custom things are active. And then this is a very helpful command. That's why it's called the help command. -h for help. So if you run any of my scripts with the -h, you will get a help screen like this, describing how the script works and what the options and does. And I showed you a bit in the last video. There are also, I have a homepage with more information, and there's information on GitHub, so I'm not going to read all this aloud again. But as you remember, the concept of the layout is 4 containers, A, B, C and D. And these are the only allowed containers in the layout. But a container can be split in any way, so a container can contain many windows anyway. So you're not limited to 4 windows. Whatever. To use i3fyra, as I told you in the last video, it doesn't run in the background or anything. It just invokes itself with commands. Run the command, and then it's not running anymore. So it never consumes any resources except when it's invoked. First option and first thing I want to show you is this auto layout -a option, and this is basically a replacement for toggle floating. Let's see if we can find it here in the default. Here, mod shift space floating toggle, and what that does is if I activate my terminal and hit mod shift space, it will float the window. Now it's floating. I can move it around. Oops, now I made that floating. That wasn't my intention. There, now it's tiled again. It's floating. It's tiled again. You see? And when it's tiled, the size of the window affects the other windows. And auto layout, it replaces that function. So if I would run here now, i3fyra -a, it will float this window since it's tiled. And now I will also make this just to not confuse you too much. This is floating, this is floating. If I run i3fyra -a now, it will look like the same function. It will look like it's just getting tiled normally. But there's more things going on here. Because now it have actually created the i3fyra layout. This window, it looks like it's tiled, but it's actually inside a tabbed container. And that container is inside the AC. This is the A container now, the terminal here. And that is inside the AC container, which is inside what's called the AB container. And the AB container contains all 4 containers. So that's what happened now. It created all these 3 containers. The AB container, inside that it created the AC container, and inside the AC container it created a tabbed container called A, and inside that container is this window. So if I would open a new terminal now, it would tile itself inside this A container, like this. Now I have 2 containers tabbed. You see, it's already... and if I would run i3fyra -a here, it would float this window. And if I run it again, it will tile it. So it might look like the same, but if we wouldn't have used this, then the window would have get tiled normally. And right now, it would be the same. Since this is a tabbed container now in the background, it would put itself, even with the normal float toggling command, it would also put it in the tabbed container. I should mention this right away, and I would really like to take the time here to thank one of the testers of this script, Indeed Watson. He has given me so good input and support here, and really good critique also, like for things that he thought was more or less broken. And one important thing is that when we run this auto layout or some other command that creates the layout, then it's bound to that workspace where it's created. So that means if I go to Workspace 2 here and open a terminal, and if I run i3fyra -a here, it will float this window like normal. And if I run it again, it will tile it as normal. It will not create any layout here, because it only does the i3fyra's commands on one workspace where the layout exists. And that means that we can replace the floating toggle here with this command, and it will only have this special meaning on one workspace. And otherwise it will work just as floating toggle. So to replace it, if you want to, you could keep the old one like this and comment it out. And then you make an exec, and I recommend using the no startup ID flag, and then you put in the command that you want to run, i3fyra-a. Save, reload the config. It's mod shift C by default. And now when I press Win Shift Space, it will use i3fyra-a instead of float toggling. But it's hard to notice any difference. But that's one way to just invoke the layout. But it doesn't do much, and maybe I should go a bit in depth here exactly how auto layout works. There are 4 containers, or it can be 4 containers. It doesn't have to be. If there are no container existing and an auto layout is ran on a floating window, then it will create the A container because no other container exists. But if other containers exist, it will not create a new container. It will put the window inside one existing container. So let's say if the B and D container existed, it would put the window inside B because it goes like alphabetically the first found visible container. If no containers are visible, but let's say C and D are hidden, then it will show C container and put the window there. So that's how auto layout works. So it's a lot more complex than just float toggling, but on other workspaces and in some circumstances it's exactly the same as float toggling. So you can replace it, and there should never be any problem with your usual workflow by replacing it like this. Okay. But that is kind of tedious to always run a hotkey or a key binding to invoke the layout. So there are some ways to make this automatically. I don't know if you know about the for window function in i3config. What that is that it creates let me just floating enabled. These are what's called window rules, the for window, and it works like this. Every time a window is spawned, like when I open a new terminal, when I open any kind of application that creates a new window, and even an application that already exists, but it might create a dialog window or whatever. Whenever a new window is created, i3 looks for all 4 window rules inside your config. And if the new window matches this criteria, which are inside these square brackets here, then the action is applied. And this criteria, it should match any window. It matches any window that has a class with any text. This is a regular expression. It might look weird if you don't know what it is, but it actually it matches anything, any text, any window with a class will get matched, which means all windows. So by having this rule in your config, all windows, instead of being tiled, if I open a terminal now, it will be tiled, or it will put itself inside the tab container here. and if I was on this and open a terminal, I'm now on Workspace 2, it will get tiled. That's default normal behavior. But if we have this rule, I save this now, I reload the config. If I open a terminal now, it should be floating. You see? And this is Workspace independent. I actually like this. I know that some people don't, and you don't have to have this rule with everything floating by default. But I think it's much more logical to have every window floating by default and then set rules for the ones that you want to have tiled instead. And it will become even more clear why this is a preferred workflow soon. But if you want every window to tile like normally and use my i3fyra layout, then you have to do this. You have to have this rule floating enabled for all windows. Then you can duplicate this, and then this is a bit of a hack here now, because then I put in focus, the function focus, which means that every time a new window appears, it should get focus. And it almost always does that anyways. But I have to put in this because then I can chain an exec command here. Yeah, just the same command that I put for the float toggling. No startup id exec i3fyra-a. Now all windows will be tiled, and if we are on the i3fyra workspace, then it will also be automatically layout. So if I save this now, reload config, if I open a terminal now, it should place itself inside the A container here. Yeah, and if I'm on Workspace 2 and open a terminal, it tiles normally. So these are the options you got. Either you just have this line and then everything will float by default. If you want them tiled like normally, then you have to have both these lines. But still, there are cool things you can do. I will remove this tile by default because I like them floating by default. But this is how you do it. And this is also one of the reasons why I did this, because sometimes it does this. When I have both these rules, it sometimes tiles a floating window when I don't want it like that. Whatever. Okay, let's go back here. But we have 4 containers to play around with. Another command to and the most powerful and the command that we will use the most is the move command, -m. And -m, it takes 8 different arguments. You can only use one argument, or one of these. So -m, A or B or C or D. If you run i3fyra with this option and one of the container names, it will move the currently active window to the specified container. If that container doesn't exist, it will create it. If the container is hidden, it will show it and then move the window there. But you can also move add the M option and then a direction, up, down, left or right. And then it will move the window in that direction. And that have different effect depending on if the window is floating, tiled, if it's inside the i3fyra layout or on a normal workspace. So we can start with the directions here. If I open a I should save and reload the config now, so now it opens floating windows by default. If I run i3fyra-m and then left here on a floating window, it will move it to the left. and of course up. And you can also use short names, just one lowercase letter. It's the same as up, and L is left, of course, and R is right, and whatever. If this window would have been tiled on a normal workspace, now it's getting cluttered here. Let's close some of these. If I would run i3fyra -right here, it will move this window to the right, hopefully. Yeah. But it's a totally different thing when you use direction movement inside the i3fyra layout. Then it will create the container to the right. So if we are in A, it will create B container, or move itself to the B container if it exists. It might, if it exists and is hidden, it will show it. And if you're in C, it will create D container, even if B doesn't exist. This is kind of the default root layout, A, B, C, D. So it always uses this when it creates layout containers and stuff. But you can also, as I said, specify a container instead of a direction. So if I do that, if I specify B here now, then because with auto layout it have created the A container here now. If I move this to the B container that doesn't exist, that means that it will create the B container. So now it moved it to B, and this is the A container. Open a new window and move that to let's say C, and C is always below A, so that should open this window here, and it does. We can even do the D container. And just to show you, if I move this to the C container again, it will populate the C container with a new tab. And the cool thing here is that we can put this, I will make this floating now, the Sublime window. We can add this M to our rules here. So let's get a good example window. Yeah, let's take this. And this, now I hit mod and D to show the D menu. That's also default i3 behavior. LX appearance. I don't know if you know about that program, but I think most of you have stumbled upon it sometime. It's most of you probably have it. You can change the theme and fonts and stuff. And that when I launch LX appearance, it launches floating, because that's what our rule tells us here. But let's say that I always wanted the LX appearance to appear in the C container when it's spawned. Then I just add a rule for that, for window. Then I have to put in the criteria for LX appearance here. I could write in the title here, but I really don't recommend using title as criteria if you don't need to. To find out what the class and the instance name of a window is, I recommend you getting this program. It's a very small command line program called wmctrl, and it is available from most package managers. You run that with this LX flag, and you will get a list of windows on in your window manager, and it displays from all workspaces, and you can see the instance name, the class name, the title, and for some reason it also writes out the host name of the computer, or for some reasons maybe you are on different host or whatever. What we are interested in is either the instance name or the class name, and you can it's important that you write the right thing here. Like, don't write the instance name for the class name, and vice versa. And the instance name often always starts with a lowercase letter. The class name almost every time starts with an uppercase letter. Sometimes they are lowercase, but almost every time it's a uppercase letter for class name. But they are often the same word like this. So let's copy this class name here. And then I can put that here. Alex appearance. And then we can also copy this line here. Hope you're following now. Maybe I should move the window a bit. Okay, so every time Alex appearance spawns, we wanted it to spawn in the C container here. Then I just put in the commander exec ed i3fyra, but instead of auto layout we have the move command and the container name. Save this, restart or reload the config. We close Alex appearance, and if I run it now, if everything is done right, it should appear in the C container, and it does, and every other window should be floating. This is how I like to do it, like every window is floating, and the windows that I know where I want them, and I know that I want them tiled, then I specify which container I want them in. I should also show you this, how that works, because I might change this. I would like some input from potential users here, how I should make this rule. I just finished it like 1 hour ago. I have barely tested it. But if we are on Workspace 2 here, let's close these guys. And if I would run Alex appearance from Workspace 2, the behavior I have set as default now is that it will switch to, since we have a specific rule, a specific container that we want it in, it will switch now to the workspace, the i3fyra workspace, and put it in that container, like this. Yeah, it's so fast so you barely sees it, but it launched itself inside the right container and switched to this workspace. Maybe a desired behavior would be to just launch the window on this workspace. I'm not sure what I should have as default, but I think since you have such a specific rule, then you really want it at a specific place. It's almost like there's also a assign rule that you can add to assign a window to a specific workspace. And keeping the same mentality, or how to say it, that would be like if I would be on a different workspace and I have assigned the Alex appearance to workspace 2 and I am on workspace 1, then it would launch itself on workspace 1 because I am at that workspace. That would be like the same thing that launching a Alex appearance on workspace 2 because I'm there, even if I have this rule. So I think this is logical, but maybe I'm wrong. Because I seldom use more than one workspace in my personal workflow, so it's hard for me to know what people would like. Okay. So that's basically it, and then you can just fill up this list with more specific placement rules for your windows. Like I like to have this kind of layout. Yeah, we can make this floating or tiled in. And you saw now it went into the A container, automatic layout. I like to have a layout that looks something like this for my workflow. And this is the A container. I use that as the main container. I keep like my editor, my browser, and other applications that needs a lot of screen real estate, so to speak. And then I have a very small window below that one that I use for yeah, like this, like a terminal. Sometimes I program and then I want to test the script. I open this up, but most of the time this bottom, the C container here is never shown. This is a good place for a file manager, and MPV is really nice to launch in a window like this. Put that in a rule, and this is a good place for IRC chatting, and or maybe the file manager here, and just MPV media, music and stuff here. It's up to you, and you can also look at my default config file, or the config file that I use, my settings. But also, we are not done with the move command here. I will copy now this exec move stuff here, because the move command, it can, just as the auto layout replace the float toggling, the move can replace the move command. So I just replaced them here. Save. And you see M option, and then you can have left, you could also write L. Save, reload the config. And now if I move here now, it should just look like normal, it should move itself like normally. Up, down, left, right, blah, blah, blah. But this is kind of the power of i3fyra. I will make this, put it in the layout again. If I move, if I use i3-4-m or i3fyra-m inside the layout like this, if I move this now upwards, then it will move this window, this terminal window, up in the layout to the A container. We can do that just to show you. So it moved itself into the A container. It didn't affect the layout at all, because above, up, the direction up points to this container. But if I would run up again, there is no container above this A container, and the C container is already here. So what will happen now is that it will hide the C container. And if I move up again, then it will show the C container. You can think of it like, I want to move this upwards. I want to split it upwards and show the thing below. And if we do it again, it will hide. But if I move this downwards now, that means we want this container split and split it with the other sibling C, but we want this container at the bottom part. So now it will do this, and it will show the C container above the A container. But it also renames the containers. So now this, which was the A container, is now the C container, and this is the C container. And this means that if I would run LX appearance now, which we had set in a rule to always spawn into the C container, if I run this now, it will spawn into this container and not this container. And I have made it like this consciously, because I think when you spawn an application, it's more the placement than its siblings in the tabs that are important. So we can just demonstrate that by launching LX appearance. It should appear now in this container and not in, you get it right? And we hooked up the hotkeys to the normal movement here. So I can also move, if I move this down, it will fill up the whole space here. And the same goes for left and right, but then it will hide and show both the other family of containers. I call them families, like A and C is one family, and B and D is one family. And A and C are siblings, and B and D are siblings. So if I move this A container now to the left, it will hide B and D. And if I move it to the left again, it will show B and D. And as you can see, it remembers the splits, it remembers the size of all the containers. If I move it to the left, and if I move this to the right now, it's the same concept. Then I want this container to the right. Oops, no, it didn't work. God damn it. Now I have made some something is wrong. God damn it, this video was so good till now. And then this happens. I don't like that. It feels like it has flipped. Sorry for this. It's like it works. There's probably something wrong with the key bindings then. Maybe I never reload the config. Maybe it's just that simple. No, it's something else. Then I think it is this. Let's just keep one letter. I will fix this if this is the case. So you can write with the full direction. But now we might have messed up the... Yeah, now it works. So to be safe, instead of writing the full word, I will fix this. It's a very simple fix in the program. Use one letter for the directions, but now it works. If I move this up, it just split itself upwards. Move it down like this. Okay, then we have the moving command replaced, and also if we have this, move this, it's normal. If I go to Workspace 2 and create a window here and make that floating, remember this is auto layout. If I move this window, it's just normal movement now. No stupid hiding, showing stuff. This is normal expected i3 behavior. So you can use this, you can just have like an experiment workspace if you want to try this layout, and it will not affect the other workspaces. They will work just as normal, even if you have these commands in your config instead of the normal movement commands. Okay, there's one last command, and this is very simple, that we should replace, because default i3, if I want to focus this container when I am in and maybe we should, yeah, let's move this to B also. i3fyra B. This will move this window to this. So now we have these tabs in this container. We have these tabs in this container. If I want to focus the B container when I am in the A container like now, with default i3, there's no difference between switching tabs and switching focus. It's only one action. So to focus right here, I have to go right. Now I am in the C container. And then I can switch tabs with the movement keys. And if I go right here, yeah, then it will just keep on. But if I go left from here, it will... And this is kind of inconvenient in my opinion to move the focus around. You can do this, you can focus the parent container. Default is mod A, and then you can focus right to switch focus. And that works, but it's I don't like it. It's one extra key press, and you really have to think what the parent containers are and such, and that is not always super obvious if you're in a child or a parent container and stuff, especially if you have a different window decoration. Okay, so I have also made a focus replacement. We can copy this, and we can copy this whole line here. And then replace the focus. Oh, we use the arrow keys here. It doesn't matter. So instead of the focus command, you run the i3fyra and down, up, right. Reload the config. C. Okay, now if I focus right now, it should just focus the B container. That didn't work. Whatever. sorry, we have to change, we have the move flag, we need the focus flag, which is F. Now, if I focus right now, it should focus the B container. It didn't, it focused the D container for some reason. Ah, that is because this is not A now, and this is kind of, this is how it is. You know, I fixed one quirk, but then it's another one, because probably we have shown, we have had it like this. Like now, this is the C container, this is the A container. If I would hide the A container now by moving the C container downwards, this is still the C container. And if you move a window, or if you move the focus now from the C container to the right, it will go to the D container. But if it would have been the A container, it would go to the B container. So that's why when I focus right now, it goes to the D container. There's no like fix for this really. If you would make a fix for that, then that would mean that I would basically have to rename, always make a new rule that the window in the top left corner is always A. And if it exists multiple windows, the window in the top right corner is always B. I could do this, but I just don't feel like it. And I think this is minor. It's still much easier to switch. But you cannot switch tabs now like you could before with the focus direction. Tab switching is another command with i3fyra. So if you use tab layout, or if you like to focus within, because it doesn't have to be tabbed, we can, what are the default? Here we have them. If I press E here, now this is the A container, but instead of having it tiled, it is horizontally split, or horizontally split. If I would focus right now, it would go to. No, it's only in tab containers, because I fixed that. When it's a different split, it will move normally. And if it's horizontal, I can move up and down, and if I move right, it's like it works. But if you have a tabbed container, then to switch tabs you need to use a different command. And that command is, yeah, we can see it here, T. Move focus inside current container, in parentheses, switch tabs with auto warp. So you need to add extra key bindings here. I like to have them on, let's put them here because they are kind of related to focus, so I would like to keep them here. Let's make 2 new bindings. And I like to have it on tab and shift tab. So like mod shift tab and mod tab. And i3fyra-t and i3fyra-t, and then you can put left and right. And this also works in either left or right or up and down. It will translate up and down to left and right anyways. It doesn't really matter. You will see soon what this does. Mod shift tab. Okay, reload. And now if I press mod and tab, it should focus. Now it will focus to the left, so it will probably go backwards. We don't want that. I will change that. But no, it didn't work. Then it's uppercase T in tabbed. I always mix this up. Reload config. And now it focus tabs with the mod and tab, and shift and tab focus to the right. And if it would have been, let's see, stacking S. Now it's a stacking layout. If I mod shift tab, now it changes stacks within this, and I can focus left and right like normally. So you need, I really recommend you using those 2 keys as well, but I think it's more sane to have this right and this left. And of course you don't need them, you can put them on any binding you want, but I find it logical to have them on mod tab. Okay, now it's just one last thing that I want to show you, and it's one of the coolest things, one of the coolest and most visible features of i3fyra, and a thing that I really think the i3 developers should consider something similar for normal i3, because in vanilla i3 the split sizes aren't remembered, and they are very hard to set the split sizes since you have to do them in percent, and you don't really know which container, the name of the containers and stuff. It's hard to make this, I understand that, but at least, yeah, whatever. I have made a way to manipulate the size of a tile container and you determine the sizes in pixels. And it's this, the last command here, the L flag. And we have an example here. We can just copy paste that and analyze it a bit. Copy. Whatever. It's wrong, and there's something wrong with this terminal. I have no idea what was going on. Okay, i3fyra -l, and this is a bit different than the other commands in how you write it. You write it like this. And first I have to show you what this does. Now you determine the split sizes. There are 3 splits in the layout. It is the A-B split, and that is the split between A container and B container. And that is this, the horizontal split here, meaning this split. And then there are 2 more splits, which is the BD split is between the B and the D container, of course, this one. And then there are the AC split, which is this, between the A and the C container. So, and you specify the split size in pixels. So if I wanted AB split, this one, if I put in AB 200 here, that means that we want this, the placement of this split 200 pixels from the left side of the workspace, meaning somewhere around here. So if I run this command, you see, now it made the split size this big. I will resize it a bit here. But you can also put in a negative number. So AB minus 200, that's the opposite. That means 200 from the right side of the workspace. So if I do this now, you see, and you can put in multiple multiple splits in the same command. Like if I want the AC split here to be 100 pixels from the top of the screen, because now it's from the top to the bottom. So 100 is about here and minus 100 is about here. So if I put in 100 here now, then it will resize both the AB split minus 300 to here or something, and AC 100 to there. Like that. And we could make this negative 100 like this. And you can even put in all 3 splits in one command. But and one of the nicest thing with this command is that if I hide now the B and D here, and then we change this AB split here to minus 450, and then we can change the BD split to yeah, let's have it minus 200 or something. None of these splits will, if I run this command now, it will not have any visible effect, but it will set the split. So if when I call now, when these windows appear, they will appear with this split. So if I move this to the left now, you see? It's the splits that I made them have. And this means that you can put this command in your i3 config file. To have a default split size. So if you don't do this, then the default will be 50% in all directions. But no one wants that. Whoops, there it was again. The out. I don't really know. It has something to do with this default config. The Sublime window sometimes pops out like this. I'm not sure why. But the i3fyra, it has been very, very stable. I use it all. I have been using it for about 2 weeks now myself, and very few issues. So now you can set the split size here. Let's say, yeah, 450, that's a good size. Minus 200, that's not a bad size either. And then let's have for AC minus 100 or something. That is what we have now. So if I have this, and also of course you have to have exec no startup ID here. Now it will run this command every time i3, either when it starts or if you make like a hard reload or what it's called. Then it will run this command and set the split sizes. Even if the layout, even if i3.4 isn't invoked at all, it will keep these splits and know them. So you can have your default split sizes like this, and you can also change the split sizes on the fly with a command, and you could even bind a key binding for your favorite split sizes. Yeah, I think I have shown you everything now about like this, the basic behavior of i3.4, what it does and how you set it up. And as you can see, it's no. I just use the default i3 config. There's no black magic here really. You just need to replace the move and the focus and the toggle, floating toggle, and then set some rules if you want to. If you don't want to, it will work also. And remember, it's bound to the first workspace it appears. I think I will make a command. I haven't done this yet, so it doesn't work, and I shouldn't show you something that doesn't exist yet, but a similar command to this, where you can specify a workspace, so you don't accidentally start i3fyra layout on a workspace that you normally want for something else. So you can specify, for example, I only want i3fyra layout to appear on the workspace 2. So even if it doesn't exist, it will not create it if you're not on that specified workspace. But I haven't implemented that function yet, but I most certainly will. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you try this script, and please let me know if you like it, if you hate it, if you stumble upon any issues. Don't tell me to switch window manager. Don't tell me that this is not what you're how you're supposed to use i3. That's just stupid. It just makes you look stupid, guys. Because why not? Why shouldn't I just use the default commands basically. Okay. Thank you for watching. In the next video I will show you a command, the i3 run command, which makes toggling, because that has you can use it without using i3fyra. It's a good little script by itself, but together with i3fyra you can make really cool things, like let's say I have the file manager here in container B. Container B is hidden. If I run i3fyra and call the file manager, it will show the window. If it doesn't exist, blah blah blah. It's really cool, and I want to make a little special video for that. Part because it is independent. You don't have to use i3fyra at all for that to be a useful script. But if you use it together with i3fyra, it's a powerhouse. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. I'm Budrich. Have a good day. Bye bye. i3 gang.